Hey, my name is Kellz. I am a social media intern with the Seattle Youth Employment Program. Welcome to my podcast. Today we will be having a general discussion around mental health. I am joined by my guests.
Hi, I'm Iman Mohamud. I am a Seattle Youth Employment intern. I'm interning as a community service unit intern with the YFE Youth and Family Division of the Human Service Department.
Hello, my name is Lyna and I am an intern at the Human Services Department's Youth and Family Empowerment Division under Director Shukri through the SYEP program.
Hi, my name is Cindy. I'm the Human Services Coordinator on the SYEP team, and I'm one of Kellz's supervisors.
My name is Kamal. I'm the job developer with the Seattle Youth Employment Program, and I'm also Kellz's intern supervisor.
Okay, into the questions. When did you first learn about mental health?
I think I first learned about mental health through my aunt when I was younger, around like 2011 or 12. She was majoring in psychology, and I kind of learned a little bit about mental health looking through her like flashcards and notebooks and stuff.
I think I first learned about mental health in middle school. I think that's when they mostly started talking about it in classes and having people come in and, present about it and why it's important, so, yeah.
I also think I probably learned it around middle school, too. I'd say mental health for me wasn't really something that my family really spoke about, so probably school.
Yeah, for me, it'd probably be around middle school. I remember growing up, like, around that time, my family, like, my mom had put me and my family in, like, some sort of, like, counseling just to make sure that we were, like, good and taken care of mentally. So, yeah, shout out to my mom for that. That was cool.
Okay. Yeah, those are really good answers. Next question. What does mental health mean to you?
Mental health just means overall wellness. For me, I don't think it's necessarily just mental, but just making sure that my mind is healthy, which in turn, making sure my body's healthy also.
I agree with Iman. I definitely think mental health is not just about mental. I think it's also about physically and emotionally well and having peace and inner harmony with yourself.
Yeah, for sure. I'd say mental health for me is balance, having a good balance of everything, the things that you eat, the things that you do, not overdoing anything, and also not underdoing anything too.
Yeah, I think it's definitely taking care of your mind. Like, when you think of health, I think you think of, like, putting, like, bandages, right, on, like, a boo-boo, a owie, if you will. But just doing that with your mind, right, and being able to like, heal your mind and take care of it in a way, and kind of in a similar way to that.
Okay, yeah, I agree with that. The next thing we will be talking about is how does mental health impact you?
Mental health impacts me a lot in a good way, and also could affect me in negative ways. Also, it really just depends on the day-to-day experience.
I agree again with Iman. Mental health can be positive and negative. I think it really just depends on how you perceive things and how much you think about it sometimes.
I would say mental health for me is impacted by a lot of things, like how many hours I sleep or like the things I've eaten or things that have happened to me in the past day. And it in turn also impacts the day that I'm experiencing as well. Yeah.
Yeah, for me, I think it impacts the way that I show up to a space. Like, if I'm not having a great day, maybe I'm not being my usual self. So, yeah, I think it can really just change the way that I show up throughout the day. If I'm having a better day, if I wake up and I'm feeling good, then I'll probably be my usual self. But when I'm not, I gotta be realistic with myself, right, and patient. And also, like, let people around me know, like, oh, like, hey, I'm not feeling 100% today, So that way they can kind of, they can just, like, navigate the conversations with me in a way that helps me throughout the day.
Yeah, I agree with that. And so to introduce the next topic that we're going to talk about, mental health in your day-to-day life. And so I'll start off with you for this one, Kamal. How does mental health impact your day-to-day life?
Oh, man. I feel like it impacts it every single day, like, if I'm being honest, There are certain things that I like to do, like I have my routines, right? And my mental health can impact my routines, which can either lead to me having a great day or a not so great day. So yeah, I mean, if I stick to my routine, then that makes me feel good, right? Then I'm able to have that kind of like work-life balance in a way, right? I think you kind of mentioned that, having that balance. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. It could make the day longer. It can make the day shorter, right? Because when they say you're having a good time, time kind of flies. But when you're not having a great time, it can really slow down, which kind of sucks. But yeah, I think it impacts me kind of in those ways, in the ways that I mentioned earlier too.
Yeah, for sure. I think it depends, right? When I'm feeling good in a day, then typically things go well, and I feel like things go my way. I think it's like a big mindset thing, where when you feel like you're having a good day, you look for things to support that mentality or that belief, and the day becomes good. But when I'm feeling low, I try to just take it easier on myself, slow things down, treat myself if I can to small things that bring me joy. And yeah, that's how it impacts my day-to-day life.
As a youth, I feel like we have a lot of things to worry about most of the time, and as an overthinker, I think that really affects on how my mental health will play out in a day. And so usually my day is pretty busy, so I'm pretty distracted from that overthinking. So I'm usually like thinking positive, but sometimes like in the evenings or at night when you're alone, that mental health might impact you negatively, which I try to distract myself from by doing things that I enjoy or talking to a person that I feel comfortable with.
I agree on a lot of the points that Kamal, Cindy, and Lyna spoke about. As a youth, a little bit myself also, it does get very hard to kind of keep yourself distracted throughout the day. And thankfully with the SYEP program, I've been able to reinstill my routine since I've been taking a break from school. So like waking up in the morning, sometimes earlier than 8 a.m. to go on a walk would help me brighten up my day. But sometimes if I don't wake up earlier enough, I wake up feeling a bit groggy or just not waking up in that greatest of moods. Like Kamal said, it's always great to communicate with the people around you and let them know what's going on in your head or what you think is going on, because sometimes a lot of emotions we don't really take the chance to like feel them and let them grow. We just react on what emotions we're feeling at the time. So a lot of the points that they brought up are very great as well.
Yes, I agree. So when you're feeling low, how do you manage and what are your coping skills? And I'll bring that one back to you, Iman.
When I'm feeling low, me personally, it's been very hard for me to manage lately. I have joined this emotional resiliency class that allows me to kind of be in a group with other people, and we just talk about a lot of skills that we partake in that are not good, such as maladaptive skills, which are like when you're picking up on, and I'm not too educated on this. I just missed the class last week because I was in my internship, but I will take a chance at my notes later. So maladaptive skills are kind of when you're adapting to bad skills or like bad habits that we could replace for good habits. So recently I've been coping by going on a walk or communicating with my therapist, my counselor, or just letting myself know, hey, today is not, right now, I wouldn't really put a day on it, but I would just be like, right now I'm not having a good day. What can I do to feel better? Whether that's taking a nap for myself, taking a shower, going on a walk, going to grab a cup of coffee or matcha or boba, something just small to help me kind of uplift my spirits, like Cindy said, and make myself feel a bit better. Even if that's not coping at that time, I'll just make myself feel lighter.
As a person who's not really expressive with how they feel to other people, I think when I'm feeling low, I pretty much just take time for myself. I kind of go alone in my little bubble and, replenish myself with things that I love. For example, like reading, like I'm onto taking a walk, or going out with friends, watching a show, eating food, like anything like that. My coping skills, I honestly think like reaffirming myself with where it's like, giving yourself pep talks. Mm-hmm. I don't know, like a lot of people that do that, but I do. And I think it's definitely, affirmation, it really helps.
Self-motivation.
Mm-hmm, for sure.
I'd say for me, it depends on the level of how low it is. When it's just a little bit low, I'll do like things that you've mentioned. I also really like reading. I'd love to talk about reading later. But like reading books or watching TV shows, something that doesn't really require a lot of energy for me. sometimes that would mean scrolling on my phone too. Like I think that's fine in moderation. But there have been times where I was really low and for like a long time. And at that point I did seek like going to a doctor and seeing if there was anything that they could do for me. And I would totally recommend that to people who are feeling low for a long time and they feel like it's not something that's normal for them. I was put on medication for a while and it really helped. I'm really glad that I ended up doing it. And yeah, it just depends on how low people are feeling.
Yeah. I like that you talked about depending on how low you feel,
Yeah.
right? When I'm feeling like really low, I'll actually lay on the ground. Like straight up, like I'll put my back on the ground. And actually what it is it's a grounding technique, right? Because sometimes, you know, when you're feeling low, you might feel, what's the word? You might feel like detached, right? Or you might not feel like you're present in the moment. So I'll actually just like lay down for a bit. I'll just turn the lights off. Maybe sometimes like I'll close my eyes and I won't sleep, I won't nap, but I'll just like be laying down. And it feels really nice and serene. You know, if you focus on your breathing, then, you know, you can kind of just like get back to where you need to be, you know, to feeling more closer to 100%. But you also got to be realistic, right? Like sometimes you just can't feel 100%. So that's why I said being closer to 100%. Because, you know, when you're feeling low, you got to be kind to yourself. But also some of the things that I do, besides laying on the ground, is I go to therapy, and my therapist gave me this. It's like a refocusing kind of technique, where you'll kind of like fixate or focus on an object. Like let's say that mug that you got there, Kellz, and you stare at it right for 5 minutes without looking at anything else, and you just describe everything about it. So I'm looking at it right, and it's got a pretty like it's got a half a circle handle, and it's got kind of like a matte finish on it, and on the inside it's kind of got like a blue tint. Right, so you could fixate on an object and actually like, it'll bring you back in that moment and help just kind of like wire your brain differently. But also there's some songs that I listen to and I actually wanted to recommend them. I'm a big music guy, so whenever I'm feeling low, I'll listen to music quite often. But I'm that person who is like a serial song repeater. So I will put a song on repeat and listen to it like, like back to back, just let it go.
Always good.
But two songs that I really like, one of them is called Empty by Janet Jackson. That's one of my favorites for sure. And actually, I was listening to that at the gym the other day just on repeat. Because sometimes when I go to the gym, I don't feel good either. Another one is Self Love. It's called Self Love, like Luh, by Mac Homie. He's actually like a Portuguese, New York artist.
Is he a rapper?
He's a rapper. Yeah, Mac Homie. And yeah, Self Love. And it's really cool because he talks about like being kind to yourself and loving yourself. And even like the things that you should put in your body.
Yeah.
So he has some like really, really cool rhymes in there. And it's like a really like slow tempo kind of song that's like easy to get into and easy to listen to. So I recommend those two.
Is the first song sad?
Kinda, a little bit. It has its moments. It kind of like goes through like some more like upbeat tempos and then some like lower ones. But it's just like a really, I don't know how to describe it. It's just like a really like glittery song. So I highly recommend it. It's a pretty good song. And I love how Janet Jackson is actually a pioneer of mental health because on this song she talks about feeling empty, right? And this song's from like '96, you know? So I feel like it flew over a lot of people's heads. Yeah, I recommend those.
Yeah, I definitely agree with the coping skills. Listening to music and just doing things like that, going to the gym. I done definitely tried methods like that before, so things like that have definitely helped me, so I agree. I know you guys kind of already listed this, but if you want to list some more, what are some mental health tips when you're feeling hopeless, sad, or angry?
I think these tips kind of differ from the question you asked before because kind of like what Cindy said, depends on how low, and Kamal, it depends on how low you're feeling. So in the first question, or the question before this, we talked about like coping skills. And for me, that would be like listening to music, guided meditation, grounding yourself, breathing in and out, focusing on certain objects. But when I get to that point of feeling hopeless, helpless, sad, maybe depressed, anxious, those are the times when it's really key for me to be present in that moment, to sit there and let that emotion come. Like I don't want to go on a walk. I don't want to go, maybe I'll just sit at the beach, but like I don't want to constantly walk because then I'll be distracted by my thoughts. I don't want to go, I just want to sit like in that moment, feel what I'm going through. But like Cindy said, if it reaches a certain time, like for that whole entire evening. Because like I said, the SYEP program for me has really helped me like focus on majority of my day. But after I go home, if I'm feeling super hopeless and that feeling lasts like throughout the night, then I know that something's really happening, something's really wrong. So after I let that emotion and that feeling settle in, I try to take action by either planning out the day before I start going to sleep. Like I'm gonna call my therapist, then go dive into work, or like I'm gonna try to schedule a time with my therapist because I know how hopeless I'm feeling right now, or even it hasn't come to this point yet, but just completely like shut the rest of my day down because I know that my actions will reflect because of my emotion. And sometimes I don't want that to happen because I don't know what exactly I'm feeling just yet. So.
I feel like being around a lot of high schoolers, you do see a lot of people being helpless, sad, and angry, and then they're not able to like express that to people. And I know like mental health is a big thing that's being discussed in high schools, but a lot of high schoolers don't seek that help. So I do believe that if you really are helpless and it's like a reoccurrence of being helpless, I think you should definitely like seek help, you know, talk to the people around you, talk to the trusted adults around you. And if you don't have any, I think seeking therapy would definitely be a great thing to do.
I would say, for me, I agree with what Iman said. I think it's really important to let yourself experience emotions. I think that emotions are things that are meant to be felt. That a lot of the times problems arise when people push down their emotions and they try to escape it and not to feel it. And so letting yourself experience the full experience of that emotion, whether it be just like laying down on the floor and just going through it. You could write about it and journal it if there's nobody that you feel safe or like nobody around to talk to you about it. Or if there is somebody, I think that's great for you to talk to someone, whether it be a therapist or a friend or a family member, somebody that you trust. For me, something that's kind of weird, but I really enjoy watching those like Animal Planet documentaries when I'm feeling sad. It's like very low effort. I'm not really doing anything. I'm just sitting on the couch and watching TV. And it gives me such a different perspective on life. Like I'm like, thank God I'm not that gazelle running away from a lion in Africa or something. And I feel like it puts my problems in perspective, and like there's so much more to the world. There's so much out there. And there are so many different other problems that I could be experiencing, not to minimize my problems, but it's just like, it's just a different perspective.
To frame it differently.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think just like self-regulation, just like knowing how to self-regulate yourself when you feel that way. I also think that feeling helpless, feeling sad, feeling angry, I kind of think there's like some beauty behind it, you know? Like I feel like it's a reminder that you're human and that like as humans, we're complex and we're complicated. And sometimes we'll feel these things, you know? So I think just like really honing in on that moment, being present with it and accepting it is one step that you can take. But then finding also like some self-regulation tips so that once you're done feeling the way you feel, right? And you kind of assess it and you're like, okay, this is how I feel right now. Then you can kind of move forward, right? And go on with the day or whatever else you need to get done. So I like that aspect of it, right? The reminder that like you're human and you feel these things. But also some things that I do, I'm a big like rom-com and drama movie guy, so I'll watch like a movie that's kind of comforting, you know? Like one movie that I really love is called The Spectacular Now, and nothing too wild or out of the ordinary happens in it, but it's just kind of like a chill movie for the most part. It's kind of sad. Or I'll watch like Moonlight, you know? I love those two movies. Yeah, and like I don't try to like find anything. I don't try to find like an answer out of the films, but I just like to, I don't know. I guess just like see characters that are feeling like similar things that I'm feeling. You know, and that happens a lot in dramas, right? Mm-hmm. Characters can feel sad, hopeless,
100%.
Or helpless, or angry, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of that drama, right? Those are the emotions that you feel when you think of like drama. Yeah. So yeah, watching stuff like that helps.
Yeah, I agree. Okay then. Now to introduce my next topic, mental health in school and workspace. And I'll start off with Kamal for this one. How does mental health affect you at work?
Oh man. All the time. I mean, honestly, there's a lot of emotions that can come with working and working with other people. Obviously, like we're all there for a purpose, and my advice would be find a job that you're passionate about because your mental health would be a lot better, right? Not all the time, but it'd be a lot better compared to a job that you don't like. I thankfully really love my job, and I love the people that I show up with. But sometimes it can be affected, like if I create my schedule for the day, and then something just comes up out of nowhere, right? And it's just gonna disrupt my whole day, you know? So that can make me feel a little eager, anxious at times. So it can affect me in a lot of different ways. Yeah, sometimes like I'm not as productive as I am other days, right? And I just gotta be real with myself. And some days maybe I'll just take like half a day and I'll just like message my supervisor and be like, hey, today's like not really the best day for me. You know, is it cool if I take the rest of the day off? And almost always it's been, yeah. Like take care of yourself. But again, having that balance is really important. Yeah.
I think echoing off of like find a job that you're passionate about, or at least some part of it that you enjoy. I think the people that you work with is also really, really important, the people they interact with. So I think the sweet spot is both having coworkers that you're cool with as well as a job that you like. I think it impacts how I show up to work and also the productivity, the things that I'm able to do on days where I'm feeling lower. I don't really want to talk to anyone. And also, I'm definitely not as productive. I try to focus on tasks that doesn't require a lot of attention to detail, or like isn't, just like things that might be easier.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with Kamal and Cindy about passion. I think passion is what really drives you. So if you're doing something that you don't like, you're probably going to be like physically tired of what you do, which eventually will affect your mental health. And so when I'm at work, I usually remind myself why I'm here and what I do is what I like. And so that helps me go through my day.
I agree with the points that you guys, all three of you guys brought up. For me personally, mental health affects me at work. Majority of the jobs that I've been working on and off have been around mental health, surrounding mental health. I worked at a mental health as a mental health assistant in Minnesota. But for me personally, I think what it really comes down to is how willing I am to show up, regardless of how I feel that day. So like even if, like Kamal said, if he shows, like, I don't know, sometimes for me, I work with a great environment. I'll come in and have a bad day and tell myself, oh my gosh, today's gonna go so horribly. Then I'll crack one joke with my coworker and I'll be like, oh, today's not that bad. Like, I'm okay, I'm great. I was being a bit dramatic. Everything's going okay, everything's going fine. I think you really just have to be in tune with yourself and, like Kamal said, self-regulate. Let yourself know you're feeling this emotion, let it come and let it go. Because at some point in the day, the emotion's gonna go. Like, I don't think anyone's angry all day. Hopefully not angry all day. Maybe there's just like certain moments where you get angry, but that wave will come and pass you by. So just kind of like being in tune with yourself, keeping in communication with other people, or just kind of shutting down and letting that emotion pass you, then continuing on with your work. But it's very important to at least self-regulate and let yourself know this emotion will come and this emotion will go.
Yeah, and Kellz, if I could actually add one more thing, kind of to your point, Iman, you reminded me of something. So at the last youth organization that I worked at, I had an intern. I was his mentor, and he told me like some days at his internship he would have a bad day.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm like, cool. I mean, everybody does, right? We all have good days, bad days, right? But he gave me a very powerful quote that I still like use to this day when I'm having a not so great day at work. And what he told me was, you know, come on, when I'm having a bad day, I tell myself this: I don't have to be here. I get to be here.
Yeah.
And that was just like so powerful to me. So with that being said, Carlos, wherever you're at, appreciate you.
Shout out to you, Carlos.
Shout out to Carlos.
Shout out to Carlos. All right then. Do you feel mental health should be taught in school?
Most definitely, yeah, I do. I haven't been in high school in a while, in middle school, but I definitely feel like it's an important aspect that it needs to be taught. Yesterday, we actually had the opportunity to join in on a council meeting, and there were students, adults advocating for mental health to be advocating for a bill to be passed so that they could fund mental health in schools, and I think it was passed. So yes, I feel like the city of Seattle is working towards implementing mental health in schools, which is very important. I think Lyna kind of brought up how she first heard about mental health in middle school, so implementing that in high school and allowing the education to further be applied for students, it would be very important for our future.
100%. As a high schooler right now, I am seeing the change in schools, and I do feel like mental health is being more recognized in a Seattle Public Schools district, at least. And I'm actually taking part in this like FEAST program, which is a mental health program for youth organizers to sit down and discuss things that relate back to youth mental health and why it's important and what can we do to help Seattle like youth and get help.
Yeah, for sure. I think for me, I don't know if mental health was really a big focus or emphasis when I was in high school or even middle school or elementary. Maybe there is more now. I graduated in like 2017, just a while ago. But I think that the one thing that I wish I had learned when I was younger was meditation.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
And I think that young people could really benefit from just sitting down and not doing anything for a little bit. I feel like we live in such a world where everybody's on their phones. And it's hard for me now to be away from my phone. I feel a little uncomfortable. I don't like to eat without watching something on the TV.
Yeah, me too.
And I wish that when I was younger that we had just like had time to just do nothing and to be okay with being bored and to and I think that meditation also sometimes could help you process through your emotions and your feelings too. I don't know if people really take the time to do that as much as they used to before.
Yeah, I mean, the answer is definitely yeah. I think we could all agree on that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the answer is yes. And I mean, especially when you think about, like just young folk. I mean, y'all are going through puberty, like at middle school, high school, and there's a lot of emotions, and a lot of them are going to be new emotions that you haven't experienced. And it's important to know how to work with it and deal with it. And like we mentioned earlier, self-regulate. But also, like, we hear on the news about youth coming to school trying to solve problems that don't need to be solved in certain ways.
Yeah.
So it's
exactly.
important to know how to solve problems, your own problems, take accountability for your own actions, but also like know when to hold other people accountable in your life. And I think that all kind of ties in with mental health and problem solving skills. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I like that you brought up like meditation, being mindful, grounding yourself, and even though we are on our phones a lot, there are a lot of apps that offer these mental health services. Specifically within the city of Seattle, they have the Luong therapy app that we learned about. There's also a couple brain apps that you could use, or like meditation apps. I use an affirmation app that Lyna was discussing about affirmation, like affirming yourself every day. And the app that I use is called I Am. And every single hour or every time you want to swipe up, every hour it pops up on my phone. So like I am loved or I am feeling
Oh yeah, I think
abundant.
I've heard of that.
It's a really great app. You guys should download it on your phones. You can customize it to like any kind of color, any kind of style that you would like, and it's just very it's needed. And you guys should take advantage.
Not sponsored.
Not sponsored, okay? Sponsor me if you want, though. No sponsors.
All right. On to the next topic, mental health at home. When you're not feeling mentally well, who do you go to and why?
Me personally, mental health at home, like Cindy kind of brought up earlier, wasn't really a thing for me growing up. Although my aunt did study psychology, I think she studied it to kind of work out the generational trauma that we have instilled in us as Somalis. Somali people really kind of, and Shukri brought this up in our cohort meeting. Sorry for those of you guys that don't know. But Somali people usually just turn to religion. So if someone is having a panic attack, or if someone is feeling like symptoms of like schizophrenia or something, whatever the case may be tied to mental health, they will sit them down and bring in what we call sheikhs, which are essentially like pastors, and they would come in, sit the person down, and form a circle and just start reading Quran on them because they think that they're like crazy, like this is a demonized person that has been taken over and they're just saying whatever they can. So medication is not really brought up. Seeking mental health services is not brought up. Seeking resources is not brought up. Talking about it in the community is really a taboo. So all of these factors for me growing up, I wasn't able to talk about mental health at home, but thankfully at school, especially high school, my psychology teacher really brought up mindfulness and a lot of these other factors that I then researched on my own.
Yeah. Like I said before, I don't really express like how I feel to people. So when I feel mentally unwell, I usually just go into my bubble, like I said, right? And just, you know, not talk to myself, but like mentally talk to myself.
It's okay to talk to yourself.
But if I really did like feel like really, really, really low, I would probably reach out to one of my friends and talk it out with them.
Yeah, I would say the same. Friends too. I have a group of really close friends and we're able to talk through problems with each other, which is always really nice. I'm also really lucky. My boyfriend is really good at listening to me and offering good like suggestions and feedback. And I think when you have conversations with people, it's good to preface it before like what you're looking for out of the conversation, whether it's like, do you want solutions or do you want this person to just listen to you as you vent? Because sometimes when you don't want solutions and somebody's giving it to you, it's like, just stop. I just want to talk. So yeah, family, I think I'm really lucky too. My parents are pretty open to having mental health discussions, which I think listening to my other Asian friends is not really a typical thing in an Asian household, but my last resort would be going to my parents if there's nobody else that's around to talk to, and they're open to having conversations about it, and just they're able to be compassionate, and it's great.
Yeah. Yeah, for me, I'm lucky to have a very strong support system of friends. We all just kind of show up for each other and are there for each other when needed. But yeah, definitely talking to them. You know, my girlfriend's really awesome too, so chatting with her is always good too. But yeah, I think it's just important to have a solid support system. And like was mentioned earlier, I think you mentioned this, Cindy, it's important to know kind of what you want out of that support system at that very moment. But also it's nice when you can be, if you're a support system for someone, if you can ask them, like, how do you need me to show up for you today? Because every day is going to look a little different. It's not going to be exactly the same.
Yeah.
Most definitely. I want to hear from y'all first, from you, Cindy, and from Kamal and Cindy first on this one. Do you and your family, or I should rephrase this, have you and your family ever talked about mental health? And if so, what topics have y'all discussed?
You go first? Okay. Well, like I mentioned, when I was in middle school, my mom kind of just like went out of her way and put like the whole family kind of in like therapy, right? Because she really was trying to like make the family stronger and bring us all together more. But I don't know. It's like I feel like we do talk about mental health indirectly, like right now, presently. But yeah, I don't know. It's not as fulfilling as I'd hope it'd be. My parents they're a little older, you know. So I feel like for them it's a little taboo, and it's either things are good or bad. You either feel good or you feel bad, right? And there's not really an in-between, but it's a spectrum, like truly. So yeah, I mean, we will talk about it indirectly to answer your question, Kellz. And the topic is really just like, I don't know, like, how you feeling? How you doing today? You know, kind of things like that, or like, how's work then? So it can be more surface level. I know they mean well.
Yeah, there's different ways to talk about it. You can get in depth with it and not in depth, so I understand that.
Yeah.
Yeah. My family, to take it back, my aunt was a refugee from the Vietnam War. And then she brought a lot of my family over to Seattle. And I think for a lot of their lives, I think my dad and my mom came here when they were like 25 and then like have been here ever since. And I think for them, most of their priorities was surviving. Putting food on the table, making sure that I was good. And I think that when you're focused on survival, mental health is kind of just in the side. But as we've been doing better for ourselves, I think that as I've gotten older, we've been able to have more conversations about mental health, because I think that when survival isn't really an issue for you as much anymore, then there are like other things that come up. And I think that for my parents, it's things like, how can I make my life more fulfilling? What are things that I could do now that I actually have the time to do stuff? I'm not always working or like resting from working. And I think it's really cool for me. I think we're able to support each other because I go through different things as like a first generation person in the US, and they go through different things coming from a whole nother country and having to adapt to living here. And so I think we're able to see, because we live so closely with each other, we're able to see the different things that we all struggle with and are able to give different perspectives to each other and support each other through different problems that we're experiencing.
Yeah, my parents also came from Vietnam and China, and so I really agree with you when you said that survival was probably the only thing that we're worrying about.
Yeah.
Which is why I can say that mental health is definitely a big stigma in Asian culture and even other cultures as well. It's not really talked about, and sometimes I think they perceive it as being shameless or weak to even talk about mental health, which is why me and my family don't really talk about it, nor is it important to them because it's not a concept that they believe in.
For me, I know I did say that it was a stigma. My mom did put me into therapy in high school. I guess my topic in therapy was just graduating high school, finishing high school, and seeing myself after, because I was very anxious about what my future was going to look like, because my parents didn't go to high school here in America or college, so I was very nervous and scared. And then my father and I now, since my mom did pass away, we just talk a little bit. We don't really talk about mental health, but I'll tell him I'm not able to show up as my old self because I'm suffering with mental health issues, and he'll understand because he has read a lot of self-help books and what did you say earlier about
self-awareness.
Self-awareness, something those kind of books. He likes to read a lot, so he'll understand, but we don't talk about it.
Yeah, I understand that. Most definitely. I can get that.
What about you?
Yeah, me and my family, we talk about mental health, but it's not a big thing in the house as much, but as I've gotten older, we've talked about it more, most definitely. Me and my mom, we've had conversations about it, and she definitely encourages me to make sure that my mental health is good at all times. So yeah, that's something that I'm always gonna be aware of and stay focused about. But to wrap it up. My name is Kellz. Thank you for being on my podcast, everybody. Thank you for all the viewers.
Thank you for having us, Kellz.
There will be some links in the description to some resources for therapy and a couple other things. And thank you, everyone.
Thank you all for joining us on this mental health podcast.
Yay!